Hello guys, welcome to CS Tech Solution. Today's is learn in SQL. Today's is learn SQL in trigger. What is a trigger? Trigger is a special SQL object that has automatically execute and then the event as occurs on the table. And the event is includes as insert, update and the delete. And you do not call triggers as manually. It as run as automatically. And real life examples things of a motion sensor light, and you enter the rooms as a light is turned on as automatically, and you does not press any switches. And the similar in SQL's record is insert, update and the delete. Triggers is run as automatically. And the syntax in MySQL and triggers, so as use the create triggers and the trigger names as write the before and the after anyone, and after as a insert, update and the delete anyone has to perform, and on as a table names, and for as each the row as a begins, and the SQL statement has to write, and last as end keyword and the semicolon. In the explanation, as a creator triggers means as a creator triggers as before and the after is then the triggers is run, and the insert, update, delete as a event that as a active the triggers, and for each row is run once for every as check the row, and beginning and end with the as between the SQL statement is executed by the triggers. And the types of the triggers, first is before the triggers, as a before triggers is execute before as insert, update and the delete the operation. And as examples, as a before insert, so as only the employee ID's name and the salaries, only the field name has to show, and the employee counts inside the trigger queries is create triggers, and the trigger name is before insert the employee, and before as insert, and on as a table name is employee, and for each the row, and as a begins, and inside the SQL statement is set new dot salary equal as a new dot salary plus as a 100, and semicolons, and sorry as a 1000 and the semicolon, and the semicolon, and insert the data as a insert into as a employee, and the values counts inside the employee ID is 101, and the commas as the name is Amit, and the commas, and salary is 50,000. So the output as employee IDs as names and the salaries as to give, and IDs is 101 as to print, name is Amit and the salary as triggers as perform, the salaries as plus in 1000. So the as a values has to give the 50,000, so the 1000 is add, and the output is 51,000 salaries has to show. This is the trigger has to perform, and the explanation as a trigger is increase the salary by as a 1000 as before the saving the records. And the second is after triggers. After triggers is execute after the data has been insert, update and the delete. And the example as after insert as create a audit tables, as create tables and the employee logs, and the counts inside the message as a where case, and the counts inside hundreds, and the counts close, and main counts close and the semicolon. And the creator triggers, so as a create triggers, and after the insert employee is a trigger names, and after as an insert on a employee is a table names, and for each the rows, and the beginnings as a insert into employee logs, and values comes inside the single quotes as a new employee is added. In the comes close and the semicolon, and the last is end and the semicolon. And the insert the data, so as insert into employee, and values comes inside as 102, and commas name is Neha, and commas as the salary is 40,000, and counts close and the semicolon, so the employee logs output as a message is so as a new employee is added. And the explanation as after the new employees is insert as triggers as automatically write the message into the log tables. Third is a instead of triggers, and SQL server as a instead of triggers is run the instance of original operations, and the nodes as an instance of triggers are as supported in as a SQL server and not a MySQL to use. And the example as create triggers as the instance of delete the employees is a trigger names, and on as a table names is employee, and is an instance of as a delete as beginnings inside as a print in the single quotes inside as a delete the operation is not allowed, and the single quotes over and the semicolons, and the semicolon is a delete the query as a delete from as an employee, and where the employee id is equal as a 101 and semicolon. So the output is delete the operations is not as the allowed, and the employee's record is not as deleted. And some trigger command syntax is there as the creator triggers, so as a use the create triggers and the trigger names, and the before and insert before otherwise is after is to use, and the insert update delete anyone has to use, and on as a table names, and for each the rows, and begins and with as between the SQL statement to write and the semicolon, and so the triggers, so as a use the so triggers and the semicolon, as a delete the trigger, so as a use the drop trigger and the trigger names and the semicolon. As the example as a drop triggers and the trigger names is there as the before insert the employees and the semicolon. As an advantage is run the automatically as improve the data's integrity, as useful for as logging, as a audit, and enforces as the business rules. And the disadvantage can slow down insert update and the delete, as harder to as debugs, and to many triggers is make maintenance as difficult. Thank you guys to watch the videos. Please subscribe the channel, on the notification and bell icon.